Welcome to another edition of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. My name is Pam, and I've been living with MS for 37 years. And I haven't really been in touch a lot lately because I have been dealing with a cold, and I think I'm pretty much over it now. But it was funny. It came on like gangbusters, and it lasted a pretty short time compared to most of my colds. Other than that, it was a typical cold, but it was like it was compressed into this 4-day period where I pretty much did nothing but sleep and blow my nose. And now I'm done with the cold and I can get back to life, which is a good thing because one of the things I had to do was reschedule my clinical trial appointment. It was supposed to be visit number 3, and I knew I would not be able to make it there. I was too sick. So thankfully they were able to get me in tomorrow. So I'm going to be heading out there to do that. And I'm really grateful that we were able to still stay within the bounds of the study. But today what I wanted to do is let you know about a memoir that I was able to read while I was recuperating from being sick. It was called I Have MS. What's Your Superpower? And the author's name is Lisa McCombs. I'm always interested to read the stories of people who have MS and have learned to live with it in various ways. It's changed their lives. I learn from other people, and I'm always interested to see where we have things in common and what is different, because as you know, MS affects each person who has it in quite a different way. I've gone through and highlighted some passages in the book that I thought were worthy of discussion. Well, starting right out with her prologue, I've highlighted here sort of the organizing principle that she's using for her book. When she was a child, she was very interested in or very excited by superheroes like Batman and Superman. And when she sat down to write this book, she decided that that would make a really good metaphor for the way her life with MS goes. So as she says here, as long as Superman steered clear of his nemesis kryptonite, he could do anything. Now, for those of you who may not be that familiar with Superman, the whole thing with kryptonite was that he had superpowers. He was stronger and faster. He could fly. He could do all these things. But kryptonite was a material from his home planet. And we don't know what the nature of it was, but when it came in contact with him or anywhere near him, he lost a lot of his superpowers. So a lot of the plots of the movies and the TV shows surrounded the use of kryptonite by the adversaries to try and get him down, and how he would still prevail despite that. So that helps you maybe a little bit with the idea of kryptonite. And as she says here, in dealing with multiple sclerosis, we need to be aware of our personal kryptonite and work hard to keep it at bay. Another thing that she does is she refers to MS as the monster. And as you see here, the way she's written monster, she's got M and S capitalized. So she's turned the word MS into that word. So I went out online just to look up the definition of monster. It's one of those words you think you know what it means, so you would just want to be absolutely sure you're not missing some nuance or something. And pretty much, yeah, it's what I thought. It's an imaginary creature that is typically large, ugly, and frightening. Now, if you think about your MS and what role it's played in your life, would you say that large, ugly, and frightening might be words that would reasonably be applied to MS? I think there are moments, yes, where my MS does seem large, ugly, and frightening, especially ugly, for sure. Some days more than others, but I think actually a monster, that's sort of a good way to think about MS. Well, in this page also, she explains her rationale for doing this book. She says, I hope that in sharing my thoughts on multiple sclerosis, that you, my readers and fellow warriors, will discover your personal kryptonites and how to battle the monster. I think that one of the tones that she tries to strike in this whole book is one of encouragement. And also at the same time, she strives to be honest. And as we know, when you have MS, those are not necessarily going to be the same thing, right? If somebody wants to encourage you, the truth isn't always going to be all that encouraging. Because MS, we don't know what the future holds with any of us. Just because we see how one person has dealt with MS and how MS has dealt with them, that doesn't mean that's going to be the course that it is in our lives. It's very difficult to say with any certainty about anything. I think that's a hard balance to strike. But I appreciate that she tries that. And as we go through here, I've highlighted just a few things that she says in both camps. Here she says, the only place you will get any support and understanding in dealing with me is other people with MS. Now, she's personifying multiple sclerosis. So that whole section there is as if MS is speaking to you. So when she says that the only place you'll get any support and understanding with dealing with me, me is MS. And MS wants you to believe that you're not going to find any support and understanding in dealing with MS, except with other people who have MS. This is really, really complicated because on one level, and I've said this on other videos, it's true that if you don't have MS, you just don't really understand. You might sympathize, but you can't empathize because there's just something different about actually having MS. But at the same time, I don't know that MS is doing us any favors trying to get us to believe that, no one understands you. Only someone with MS can really understand. Because isn't that kind of isolating? So I hadn't even really thought of it myself until I looked at this more carefully and I got thinking, MS is indeed trying to tell us that. But let's just make sure that we don't turn that into a reason not to even try to connect with other people, because isolation is fatal to just about anything in human life. We are not designed to be isolated from one another. If you are around other people who have MS, if you can get in touch with people, if you're part of a support group, that's great. That is wonderful. That's a blessing. But if that isn't the case for you, then at least connect with the people who love you. Maybe they don't really understand, but they want to because they love you and they want to try. So don't let MS tell you that you have no choice but to be isolated. And here in another place, she tells us when she actually was diagnosed with MS, July 1st, 2001, through a spinal tap. She's had MS for about 15 or so years. And she's at the time of this writing, she's in relapsing, remitting MS, as she tells us in the book. And at the time of the writing, she had not progressed, and she was hoping very much that she wasn't going to. And here's another thing that she talks about that I wanted to discuss a bit. She's got here, You're Not That Interesting Anymore, is her chapter title. Okay, the sad but honest news, she writes, is that having MS is a novelty that gets less interesting the longer it attempts to hang out with the crowd. The initial diagnosis receives rave reviews of, OMG, what can I do? If you ever need anything, I'm only a phone call away. Or call me when you're feeling down, we'll talk. That lasts for a few weeks, maybe months, and possibly the till death do us part participants may hang on for a few years. And then reality sets in as MS begins to rob its victims of more and more abilities in exchange for more mundane hobbies and interests. And again, I'm going to take issue with that because I don't really know that that's true. The people who are truly my friends, this doesn't apply at all. I will say one thing, MS is a great way to find out who your real friends are, because people who were hanging out with you, maybe you had a common interest or whatever, they might drift away. But that happens in all walks of life. I don't really keep up with people very well when I'm no longer doing the same things that they're doing and living in the same places that they're living. But there are people in my life who have been friends with me for years. And it has nothing to do with where I live, what I do, or whether or not I have MS. And so again, you're kind of winnowing through the people who say that they're your friends or who you consider to be your friends. You're going to find out who your real friends are. Nothing really that wrong with that, is there? Do you really want to go through life not knowing who your real friends are? So maybe in a way, MS has done us a favor. Instead of robbing us of the friendships that we could have had, it actually clears the path of all the people that sooner or later were going to let us down anyway. And as far as more mundane hobbies and interests, I don't know. I mean, isn't that kind of up to you? Because just because the hobby or interest isn't maybe physically active, daredevil, thrill a minute, it doesn't mean that it isn't interesting or unique. Every one of us probably has something that we do or that we're interested in that's different from everybody else, regardless of whether or not we have MS. And then later on, she says, always remember that MS is a designer disease. It is a thumbprint. MS is extremely personal. And that is extremely good advice. I really will say here on that one. I like how she talks about it as a designer disease. I don't know who designed it. I've got to pick a bone with them because I'm not so sure that they thought that one through. But it is indeed unique to every single person. So when you see somebody with multiple sclerosis who's had it longer than you, and you don't like to think of yourself as perhaps winding up like that, you can realize that you may and you may not. Your course may be completely different. And then here she says, that's the way it is with MS. It often forces us into a reclusive lifestyle where our friends are DVD actors and television personalities. There you go. I think she's being a little negative here. It's so that you just end up being so isolated by your disease that your friends are the people on television. They're fictional characters. Well, okay, I don't know. That seems a little more negative. I suppose there are times in all of our lives when that is true, but over the long haul, I sure hope, and I hope for her sake, that that isn't the truth. But I do like what she says next. She says, MS is a jealous companion and wants you all to itself. Oh boy, does it ever. That I will agree with her 100%. If it were up to MS, I wouldn't do anything else. I wouldn't leave the house. I'd just stay home. MS makes it much more challenging for me to do the kinds of things that I never thought twice about doing before. But that doesn't mean I won't do them. So MS can be a jealous companion, and it's going to spend a lot of time being unhappy with me then, because I am going to continue to do the kinds of things that I want to do. And then finally at the end here, she has some references that she's talked about through the book, and I just printed the reference list here so that you could see the kinds of things she's talking about. She talks about the book Multiple Sclerosis for Dummies, which by this time is kind of out of date, or at least the edition that she was looking at. But I wanted you to notice the author, Rosalind Kolb. She's a name that you may well have seen on the internet or in different National Multiple Sclerosis Society publications, because she's a very big name in multiple sclerosis. And then the next one, the My MS Yoga, I looked that up. I put the website there, and I'll have the link down below as well. You can look into that a little bit more. If you want to learn how to do yoga specifically for multiple sclerosis, this might be something worth looking at. And then she has another book here about yoga you can look up, but that one's not specific to MS. And then again, the We, is that how you pronounce it? I don't even know. The We Fit. It's an awesome way to exercise. It's what I've heard not just from her, but from Bob and Brad and other folks that I follow on the internet. As far as learning to improve your balance in particular, I understand that that is a really helpful tool for you to use. So if you have access to a We Fit, you might look into that. And then finally, this website that she refers to, We're Not Drunk, We Have MS. It's a Facebook page, and here's what it looks like. I checked it out. It's still up and going. So if this is something that you're interested in, the link is there, and I'll put that down below as well. It's a way of connecting with other people who will understand, who have a lot of the same struggles that you do, and maybe have come up with some interesting ways to overcome or to accommodate multiple sclerosis. And finally, she does provide her contact information, and I am sure that she would be delighted to hear from you if you would like to reach out to her. Well, that's it. That's Lisa McCombs' book, and if you're interested in any of those sources or those web pages, or even to try and get in contact with her, I'm assuming that she'd be very welcome to have you do that. At one point in the book, she records all of the responses that she received to a question she posted on that website that she mentions, We're Not Drunk, We Have MS, and asked people to respond. What was the thing that caused them the most difficulty with MS? I don't know if she used the word kryptonite in that regard or not, but she got in response the usual kinds of things that many of us deal with all the time: heat, stress, fatigue, balance, energy, pain, specific symptoms and general symptoms. She does want us to think about what is for each one of us our own kryptonite. And I got to thinking about that because I related to a lot of those symptoms that were listed. I certainly have problems with heat and balance and fatigue and whatnot. But as I thought about what is really my kryptonite, what is the thing I really have to guard against with MS? And I would say it's something that predates MS, and it's fear. It's probably something of a temperament thing. Even as a child, I know that I was not fearful in the sense where I wouldn't do anything, but fearful in the sense of being cautious. I always thought through things. When presented with an opportunity to do something, I thought about all the things that could go wrong. I know that seems kind of weird for a small child, but it was partly being the oldest child, I think, and taking responsibility for my younger siblings. I just got in a habit of that whatever we proposed to do, I had to think through. How could somebody get hurt? What could go wrong? And it became just a life habit for me to be cautious. And I guess, where is the line between caution and fear? I don't know. But when you have MS, all of a sudden, things that used to be fairly easy to do and fairly straightforward, they're not anymore. And as she says in the book, I think the reaction that you might be tempted to have is, just don't do anything, right? Just don't take those risks, because we can imagine quickly what could go wrong. We can easily see how we could get hurt, or we could fall and it would be embarrassing. We could draw undue attention to ourselves. It would just not be a situation we would enjoy, so let's just not do that. You can tend to look at the things that go wrong to the point where you forget that, but think about what could be right about it. Think about the memories that you could make, the relationships that you could be building, the joy, the fun that you could be having. Just as a child, I had to go through all of that process. I still have to do it now, but I battle fear quite often. And I won't say, though, that MS hasn't in some ways helped me with my fear, because it's put things in a context that I didn't have before. Oftentimes when you're young, you think, what's the worst thing that's going to happen to you in your life is that you're going to get older and you're going to get sick and you're going to get some dread disease. Well, here I am. I got MS, and I'm living with it just fine. As I said, 37 years and counting. When I was diagnosed with cancer back in 2014, I wasn't all rattled about it. You would have thought that would be the end of the world. I think my friends were a little shocked. My mother was certainly surprised that I wasn't more upset about it. As soon as the doctor said to me, but it is the kind of cancer, we can do surgery, we can remove it, he was pretty confident that he'd get it all and I'd be done with it. And I thought, really? A disease that could be cured and done with? Amen, sign me up. And you know what? He was right. Here it is some years later, all my CAT scans have been clear, and I'm so glad I didn't waste a single moment of fear on that one, because it wasn't worth it. And then the longer you live with MS, the more you realize fear's not really a healthy reaction either. So I guess I am facing my kryptonite, and MS is actually helping me to face my kryptonite. So there you go. You might think about your own, though. What is the thing that you would say is the most debilitating to you, physically or emotionally, when you're thinking about your multiple sclerosis? And that's all I really have for today. I'm just so happy that the sun is shining and that I'm feeling better. And I really do think it's going to be spring sooner or later. Well, it's already spring, but it's going to be warm enough that when I open the front door, my first impression is warmth and not like, oh, it's kind of chilly out. One of the things I know with MS is that you're a lot more sensitive to temperature than you were in the past, and the range of temperatures that are comfortable for you are quite different. And I've become more of a baby the older I get, I have to say. But oh well, life goes on. Well, have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again in my next video.